It is silly season in the NFL, which means there is plenty to discuss and talk about. We got a lot of stuff with the San Francisco 49ers today about impending free agents, guys that we expect to return, not return. The Brock Purdy situation continues to kind of take on a life of its own. There was some stuff that came out after we were live yesterday and has kind of continued on. So we'll talk about that as well. One of my off-season dreams has died. RIP. But we'll talk about what that is and how we can pivot. Maybe we just shift gears on the dream to someone else. So we'll get into all of that stuff, but you already know what to do. Brad Gang in the building, dropping SDS in the chat. Let's talk about it all right meow. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, a sourdough squad? We got the SDS. We got the bread gang in the building. You love to see. That's how you stack bread, baby. You know who else is stacking bread right now? Oh, there's someone stacking bread right now. And he goes by the name of Max Crosby. Oh man, I'm glad I was able to kind of give one last sales pitch last night on live while discussing what I would do to try to go and get Max Crosby. Max Crosby becomes the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, surpassing Nick Bosa. Or actually, no, he surpassed, I think, defensive end. He surpassed Justin Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken. But honestly, I'm not going to lie. There was a clue. We were actually tipped off by Max Crosby himself. I don't know if you guys recall. He had a podcast that he put out yesterday, and he started recruiting Aaron Rodgers. And I was like, why would you recruit a quarterback openly on your podcast amidst a contract negotiation where you didn't really know if that maybe where you were going to stay or not? And I was like, oh, that feels like something's going to happen. And sure enough, we find out today Max Crosby signs a big time contract. Blame me if you want. The dream, it died. But it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun while it lasted. And I enjoyed it. So now what we have to do is we have to figure out where we shift the energy. Are we back on Myles Garrett? Is that the defensive end that we are going to go after? Is there someone else maybe that we aren't thinking about that the 49ers could go and get? Or do they just turn to the draft? Do they kind of stick on this pathway of shedding contracts and getting cheaper? I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out. But it was interesting. I caught one of Matt Mayoko's videos today on his YouTube channel, and he was talking about some 49ers veterans that might be cut to get further monetary relief. And he named 2 defensive linemen, which I find to be interesting considering the fact that the 49ers defensive line needs a lot of work. And, you know, yeah, it's one of the biggest rebuilds that we got going right now with the Niners is trying to retool that defensive line. He mentioned both Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos potentially being some cap casualties, and all of that. Jesse says, Brad, using your tinfoil hat to its full potential, is BA in New England taking a physical? I don't need to use a tinfoil hat. I can tell you directly, straight, point blank, period to your face, that Brandon Ayuk is not in New England. That is not true. That is 100% false. He is not in New England taking a physical. Straight. That I don't need any tinfoil hat for that. That's no speculation there. That is straight from the source. No, he is not at all in New England. I haven't said anything on it yet. I don't even think New England is the team that's interested. If we're going to be fully honest, but people want to continue to say that it's New England. That's fine. If it turns out to be New England that is interested in trading for Brandon Ayuk, I would actually be surprised by that, based on what I've heard. So, no, he is not. I can say that confidently, that Brandon Ayuk is not in New England taking a physical. I feel good about that one. So I'm not. The Pats aren't the team that I'm concerned about. The Pats make a lot of sense, and I understand that connection. It makes sense. They have the most, I think, available cap space in the league. Young quarterback. They offered Brandon Ayuk an insane contract last year. BA ended up ultimately kind of turning that down. So it makes sense. But so far I'm hearing it's a no for the Patriots. But hey, things change, things happen. But I don't think it's New England that are the ones poking around right now. So we'll see how that we'll see how that comes to fruition. And what comes of that. So we'll see. We will see. But that means, obviously there's a lot of rumors floating around right now, and that's we're in that realm. That's why I started it off by saying we're in silly season. A lot of rumors. I think my favorite rumor today to come out from one of those rumor accounts that I'm not going to lie, I cannot stand, was that Hunter Renfrow retired today. Breaking news from rumor account, Hunter Renfrow retires. And he's like, that's crazy because I've been working out for 2 months trying to get back to the league. That's crazy that I retired. I was like, oh my God. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time right now. And again, that's why we have that. Those are the reasons why we have the tinfoil. I just ripped my tinfoil hat. That's sad. This thing has been. This is 2021 tinfoil. This 2021 offseason tinfoil hat. I ripped it. I've ripped it multiple times. Sad times. But this thing has been through a lot. It's gone through a move. Really just, I can't believe I still have this thing. But I'm going to keep this until the end of time. I'll just tape it up. We'll rub some dirt on it. Oh gosh. Let's talk about some of the stuff going on around the San Francisco 49ers. More, you know, nothing ultra official, but a lot more official than those rumor accounts. So before we get into that, do me a favor. Smash that like button on this video if you haven't already. And let's get into some of the things that started to percolate throughout the day. We'll give our reaction to it and discuss about it. Ultimately, it's going to lead us to, I think, a Brock Purdy conversation again, but we'll talk about it all. Don't you worry. So started up the morning with this from Jeremy Fowler saying teams were notified that 49ers defensive tackle Javon Hargrave will be a post June 1st release and is healthy. One of the reasons why this was going around is because although we knew this already, I do believe it was to kind of reiterate that he's healthy. And hey, teams, if you want to come trade for Javon Hargrave for a 7th round pick, we'll do it. We'll do it. Take his contract because we're gonna release him anyways. But if you don't want to, I don't know, have to bid for him on the open market, you could get past that. So we knew he was going to get the post June 1 release, but I do think the 49ers have been trying hard to do what they can to trade him. Doesn't look like anything is coming of that. So what happened? It disappeared. Talanoa Hufanga. So this has been my expectation for a while now. That Talanoa Hufanga is expected to be lost to free agency, and not necessarily because Talanoa Hufanga doesn't want to stay with the San Francisco 49ers. I think that, again, kind of in line with where the 49ers are at, it just feels like they're trying to shed some contracts, turn over some parts of the roster. And I think Talanoa Hufanga, dealing with the injuries that he had last year, I think that would have, I don't know. I don't know if that would have helped his case because honestly, if he did play really well last year, he would have been even more expensive. So um, I've been expecting that Talanoa Hufanga will be heading to the open market. And actually, this was kind of something that I stumbled across at the Super Bowl on Radio Row after talking to someone with extremely close ties to the Denver Broncos. I actually expect the Denver Broncos to be hot and heavy after Talanoa Hufanga, and on good authority too. So obviously, there'll probably be other teams that will be suitors as well. But like I said, what I heard on Radio Row is that the Denver Broncos are absolutely interested in signing him. So keep that keep that in mind. We'll see where he ultimately lands because again, there's 31 other teams out there that can bid for his services. So we'll see where he goes. But I've said it all along. Like I love Talanoa Hufanga. Like I know people have indifferent views on him as a player. I thought he was an extremely cerebral player. I thought he had some amazing moments with the San Francisco 49ers. And I loved his personality. I loved his approach to the game. I loved watching him interact with his teammates. Like I'm just a big Talanoa Hufanga fan. I will be rooting for Talanoa Hufanga wherever he goes next. So I wish him nothing but the best if this is indeed the end, which I do expect it to be. Talanoa Hufanga's, to me, just a great guy. Like, he's a great person. And, I'll miss him, and I wish him nothing but the best wherever he goes next. Um, Also, though, again, I've kind of, I've been saying this for about a month now. Um, but my expectation is that Dre Greenlaw will not return to the San Francisco 49ers. I believe we talked about this yesterday as well. Um, Dre Greenlaw, some people believe it's monetary. I don't believe it's monetary based on the information that I got. So that's why I was pretty adamant, or not adamant, but kind of confident that he's likely not coming back. Um, my read on the situation is he wants to be the guy, and unfortunately, when you're playing on a defense with Fred Warner, that just won't happen. And that's, again, no disrespect to Fred Warner. I think he loves Fred Warner. That's his brother for life. I just think he wants that op. I think he wants the chance to, you know, green dot, run the room, call the plays, be the mic, be the guy. So he's going to go get that opportunity. He might not get and I think some fans might kind of be upset potentially at the deal that he signs, because they might look at it and be like, wow, we couldn't have offered Dre Greenlaw that. And again, I'm not necessarily sure that the offer will matter. Again, I don't think anyone right now is giving Dre Greenlaw more than a 1-year deal. I don't know if Dre Greenlaw even wants more than a 1-year deal. I think he would, if I'm Dre Greenlaw, all right, give me the opportunity to be the mic and give me a 1-year deal. Build some incentives into that thing based on tackles, play style, Pro Bowl, all that kind of stuff. Just build the incentives into it, and then allow me to hit free agency as an unrestricted free agent the following year, and then collect the bag after proving he can be one of the top Mike linebackers in the league, which is, I think, what we all expect of him to be. So I don't think that he is going to I don't think he's going to get like a crazy payday or anything like that. And some fans might see that as like, oh no, we're just letting this guy walk. At a certain time, at a certain point, like it's multiple sides that need to work together on this. Not just one can dictate everything. And when you're unrestricted free agent, you have the choice to kind of go where you want. So again, if this is the end, and Dre Greenlaw isn't going to return, unfortunate. I love Dre. Again, just so many fond memories with him. He was drafted. He was in that same 2019 rookie class with Nick Bosa, first round pick, Deebo Samuel, right? He was the second round pick. Dre Greenlaw was the 5th round draft pick from that class. So, and he made plays right away. So, and of course, very memorable plays at that. You think of the goal line stop against Seattle in the last game of the year that vaulted the 49ers into the number 1 seed. It was a huge play. Even developed the nickname amongst fans as the Seahawk Killer because he was balling. He picked off Russell Wilson in his first game against him, and then he had that play at the end of the year. So we already know Dre's a 49ers legend, like amongst fans. Like he's just beloved. And so it's going to be a tough one to see him rocking another helmet and another logo and another jersey. But this is the life in the NFL. Things happen, times change, and it is what it is. Some NFC West news went down today, which is going to spark some other things that happened today. DK Metcalf has requested a trade from the Seattle Seahawks. So, but that's not it. Not only did DK Metcalf request a trade from Seattle, Tyler Lockett is out. He is not returning. So they lost, their one of their longest tenured players on the team, Tyler Lockett. He's out. DK Metcalf, he's out. And gonna be interesting to see where he ultimately lands, what he goes for. But there's a lot of wide receivers that are like kind of coming available. Christian Kirk got released today. I like Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk would be a great option for the San Francisco 49ers to bring in a veteran wide receiver. I think he is coming off an injury, which will definitely impact his cost, but he is a player that I really like. So, yeah, Bulky's special, Christian Kirk. Bulky has his hands in ballooning the wide receiver market and the quarterback market. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? My boy Brad was looking like someone's aunt on vacation. Now he's all business. That is hilarious. Great. That's a funny ass comment. Very nice. Very nice. I was feeling like someone's aunt too. I was vibing. Hair down every video, chilling. He said look like someone's aunt. Oh, that's funny. That was a good one. That was a great one. Man. I mean, people been asking for the flow. The flow might need to make a regular appearance on the show. So we'll see. We'll see. The people been requesting the flow though. But anyways, back to 49ers football. DK Metcalf requests a trade. There's clearly going to be a lot of movement across the league. And all of that. So that triggered our good friend Deommodore Lenoir. Deommodore Lenoir is the offseason champ. I mean, he's honestly really cementing himself as one of the top favorites amongst 49ers fans. Like, if I just quickly go through the roster, you might say that Deommodore Lenoir is a top 5 player favorite amongst 49er fans. And you can agree or disagree with me in the chat, but I'm thinking Kittle, Warner, you got Purdy, Christian McCaffrey. So there's 4. Debo's not here anymore. You got Bosa. But I would venture to say that I think Demo might even be more popular with the fans right now than uh than Bosa. Um, who else? I think he's up there. Juice. Yeah, he is ascending. Greenlaw, sure. I didn't put Greenlaw in there just because just because we're anticipating that he probably leaves in free agency. So yeah, I would say Demo, he's in that top 5, top 6 category right now. Of I think favorite 49ers amongst the fans. So he had some fun with this. He went onto Twitter and he said, bro, you can't leave Seattle. You're the only one that made that game fun. And at first, I thought Deommodore was kind of like trolling him. And we'll get to Deommodore Lenoir's live that he did on Instagram in a second. I actually think he was being serious. I think he genuinely enjoyed playing against DK Metcalf. I think, you look at Deommodore Lenoir, he's clearly a very competitive person. And you look at DK Metcalf, he has kind of some of those same tendencies. Both of them chirp, both of them talk, both of them hit. Um, and so I think Deommodore Lenoir genuinely is being serious. Like he really enjoyed going up against DK Metcalf. So this was from that game where him and Fred Warner kind of got into it. You see the 49ers players waving to DK Metcalf after he got ejected from that game. I think this was 2000. Was this 2003? It's crazy how fast time is flying. This was also the game where this was such a cool moment. The whole stadium just like was so hyped over this situation. Fred Warner stands up on the benches and he starts hyping up the stadium. All the players behind him, they're getting hype. I mean, I love this kind of football, man. Like, it doesn't all have to be buddy buddy all the time, We can get back to some like, like physical altercations on the field. I don't mind it. As long as you keep it within certain parameters. I like when they get chippy, and it heightens the levels a bit. I kind of even think back to the divisional round playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks at Levi's Stadium. I think that was 2022 when Deebo Samuel is kind of running across the field, kind of angles up towards the right sideline, and I think was it Abrams, the safety at the time? Abrams tackles him and he pulls his leg and like all hell broke loose. You even had Shanahan come all the way off the sideline and yell at Seattle Seahawks players, walk through their huddle, um, and all that stuff. So uh, I thought it was pretty good. I like when things get a little chippy because in that particular game, it was kind of even. And then when that happened, the 49ers turned all the way up and just completely took over that game. So it was pretty fun memory. But that then you had Deommodore Lenoir. We'll get to that one in a second. I don't know why it keeps disappearing. Deommodore Lenoir went on to Instagram Live, and he said what he had to say. he said, y'all cannot let DK Metcalf leave. How am I going to have fun out there in Jigba? He be crying all day. That's all he do is cry. Said some of the things, called him a crybaby. I don't know if you can hear it. Thumbs up in the chat if you can hear the video play. I'll let it play out if you can.
Y'all cannot let DK leave. Y'all can't do that. Like who I'm gonna have, like, how I'm gonna have fun out there? Najigba, he be crying all day. He cry. That's all he do is cry. Ref, he holding, ref. Oh no, don't hurt me. Cry, baby. Bro, I'm not worried about JSN. I'm not. He know that. He know that. He know that. God, he know that. Sure. But back to DK. We can't let you leave, bro. Unless you want to be a Niner. Unless you want to be a Niner, that's the only way. Like, y'all.
So that right there, that little part of him saying, unless you want to be a Niner, I think he genuinely likes DK Metcalf. Like, I don't think he was trolling Metcalf when he said it's not going to be fun, like, with him leaving. I think he genuinely likes playing against him. And he was like, unless you want to be a Niner, he said, come through. But yeah, you know who he doesn't like, I think, who he made it abundantly clear. I don't think he likes JSN too much. he straight up called JSN a crybaby. And I love it. I was low key waiting for a JSN response. We didn't get one, but something tells me this got bookmarked, and this is going to be brought back up the next time the San Francisco 49ers and Seattle Seahawks play. And listen, nothing crazy was said. Nothing crazy was said. All right, now let's see. Now let's get out in between the white lines and let's see who's crying at the end of when it's all said and done. I like this, man. Like when you got competitors start chirping a little bit. I talked about this in the video that I made about this. It's like it kind of holds the matchup now accountable, because the public has a rooting interest in seeing Deommodore Lenoir versus JSN. So, maybe there are people across the league, they're not too familiar with Deommodore Lenoir. Maybe they don't really follow 49ers football and they're not in tune. Well, now they know who Deommodore Lenoir is, and now they're going to be watching. What are you going to do, Deommodore? And he has the opportunity, if he backs it up, which I do expect him to do. I think that only raises his cachet. I think it only continues to build that reputation that he has. And I've talked about it as well with like Deebo Samuel when he was talking, all that stuff about the Philadelphia Eagles, and then walked into Philly, scored 3 touchdowns and demoralized them. And, when like some people don't like it. Some people are more like old school, like don't talk and just let your play speak for itself, which I do believe there are times and places for that. But I also do believe that if you do end up talking, if you back it up and you back it up over and over and over again, then it's like, all right, I'm fine with it. Go for it, man. say whatever you want, because if you can back it up and you can perform and execute and it doesn't become a distraction. Like sometimes these things can be good distractions, like because of this video, Seattle Seahawks fans got a hold of it. They're all chirping him. Now he's getting chirped from Seattle Seahawks fans. And now I guarantee you right now, Deommodore Lenoir is probably thinking about that matchup against JSN. And so again, it just heightens the matchup. It becomes like a heavyweight fight, like a heavyweight bout. Like, all the trash talk in the lead up to these fights, right? That's how it works. It's how they promote the event. It is a way to brand yourself. It's a way to promote yourself in today's NFL. And the reason why I say it like that is because it's going to have more eyes on it. People are going to be keeping track now who's going to win that matchup. And so I think it's fun, man. I think it's fun. I think it's another added layer to the game and gives us something to look for.
But then again, I like going against you. So because you're the only receiver that's gonna be out there really on that time, like you really like you gonna come try to hit somebody in the face. Then I gotta show you I ain't no buster. Hit you back. Then we just going at it. Nah, I ain't recruiting. It low-key had me mad when I just got that text in the morning. They talking about he about to leave Seattle. That just got me. It got me hot.
So again, like he explained, I think he genuinely liked playing against DK Metcalf because again, what are he talking about? He said something, he did something, and he's got to back it up. He's now got to do it. So I'm for it. That's why they call him the hyena, right? So I thought it was fun today. Something that we weren't really expecting or anticipating. But stirred some stuff up. Like, why not? Why not? Here's some other ones. I'm curious. I was actually surprised by, I think, some of the feedback that we got on this report because Mike Silver is reporting that Jonathan Allen is expected to be released if the Commanders cannot come to terms on a trade agreement with another team, which it does appear that is going to be the case because someone would have to take on his contract. Very similar to the situation that played out with Deebo Samuel. The 49ers actually found someone who wanted his contract and happened to be the old general manager of the San Francisco 49ers in Adam Peters. And so they took on his contract and gave us a draft pick. And which depends on who you are, but to me, and I think most people who understand how the league works, that's a really good trade for the 49ers. The fact that they were able to get compensation in return for a player that they were going to release if they could not find a trade partner is pretty damn solid. The fact that they got a 5th round draft pick, granted, yes, it will be a later 5th round draft pick, but still, that is a whole lot better than outright releasing Deebo Samuel and just eating a $31 million dead cap hit. At least they got a 5th round pick. And we'll see what the 49ers turn that into. But with Jonathan Allen, he is expected to be released. And the 49ers were in conversations with the Commanders about putting that trade together. When the Commanders and 49ers agreed to terms on the Deebo deal, it was reported that Jonathan Allen was discussed. So this kind of reminds me of the Malik Collins trade because when the 49ers were looking to offload Eric Armstead and his contract, they were trying to trade him to the Texans. Now, that trade ultimately fell through, but they were trying to trade Eric Armstead for Malik Collins. And that trade falls through. 49ers have to release Eric Armstead. They trade for Malik Collins anyways with a 7th-round draft pick. But Malik Collins also didn't have the contract that Jonathan Allen has. So what I do expect is Allen will be released, and he will have the ability to pick and choose where he wants to play. And I'm curious if he chooses to potentially play for the 49ers, or if the 49ers want to bring him. And although I don't think that this, if you were to sign Jonathan Allen, I don't think he fixes your defensive line, but boy, does he help it. Does he help it? He would be, in my opinion, a great addition to the interior defensive line that currently consists of your starting interior defensive tackles that are Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott. So I think that would be a massive, massive upgrade to what they currently have. I'm hoping for something out of Evan Anderson. Kalia Davis hasn't really been able to do a whole lot. He's flashed in moments, but just I don't think enough to be able to be relied upon. And I think they need to upgrade. I think they need to upgrade that spot. And Jonathan Allen, even though he's older, he would still be a solid stopgap until the 49ers either draft another defensive tackle, sign another defensive tackle, or what have you. So I would be all for the San Francisco 49ers getting involved with Jonathan Allen. I do think that, he's not in his prime anymore. At one point, he was in that conversation of being one of the best interior defensive tackles in the league. I don't think he's in that conversation anymore. But, he's still someone who could likely contribute, and the veteran presence would be big. This one was pretty interesting from Tom Pelissero. Tom Pelissero projecting that Aaron Banks could sign a contract in the range of $18 to $20 million per season. Woo! I mean, good for you, Banksy, man. If you can break the bank, then do it. Then do it. But there's no way that the San Francisco 49ers are going to be paying him that amount. It seems like quite the overpay at that range, but also I'm personally not going to complain about it for the simple fact of we need offensive linemen to be more expensive because we need to attract the athletes to the offensive line. They need to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, that even though there's no statistics for you, even though PFF is going to grade you wrong, even though Joe Blow on X is going to repost one of your clips blaming you for missing a block, even though it's someone else, even though you only get highlighted for penalties and mistakes, that you can make a lot of money. Like, right, not only has the offensive line, especially interior, been just such an underappreciated position, but they just get the raw end of the stick. They're the only, outside of long snappers and Yeah, outside of long snappers, they get no love. You get no love. So I'm fine if interior offensive linemen uh, are expensive now because I think it's the best for the position. But the 49ers won't be able to afford that price tag for Aaron Banks. So if that is really the case, I think we all kind of anticipated that Banks is leaving for free agency anyways. He did not have, in my opinion, a good year last year. It was a big time regression, and it honestly started in training camp. I felt that he had regressed so much so in training camp that he might not even be a starting offensive lineman, um, when the season was all said and done. And I think what we saw is Ben Barch clearly uh instantly played better than he had all season. And unfortunately for Ben Barch, he got hurt. So they weren't able to move forward there. Uh but with Banks, he was an ascend I thought he was an ascending player at one point. And he had the potential to potentially be a Pro Bowl guard with how he was developing. But I don't know what happened. Took a step back. And like I said, even in training camp, it was really hard to watch Dominic Puni be better than him in training camp. And it was it was like a hard thing to quantify because I was expecting him to take that final jump. I was expecting him to like really show up in training camp and be a Pro Bowl guard and not get outshined by a rookie offensive lineman. And so it kind of was like, ugh. To me, training camp really foreshadowed uh what happened with the offensive line. Because as you guys know, I'm big on the offensive line, and so I evaluate it in camp, and I could see at least from my vantage point that the 49ers were toying with the idea of starting a different center, not named why am I blanking on his name? Jake Brendel. They were rotating Ben Barch at times. They're rotating Zakel at times. It did seem like it was going to be Feliciano who was going to likely get the start at center. And then he got hurt because when Puni had taken over the right guard spot because both Burford and Feliciano got hurt, Puni just never gave back the job. And when Feliciano came back to training camp, uh, he was rotating at center. He wasn't rotating at right guard. So you could see, there was some writing on the wall with training camp that center left guard spot was iffy. It was iffy, and you could see that Puni. I said rookie of training camp just because of how well he played throughout that camp, and I think he proved that throughout the year. Now, obviously, he plays offensive line, so there's only so much um, you can do. But I think it again emphasizes the 49ers need to continue to improve the interior offensive line. You hit a home run with Dominic Puni. Check that off the box. He can play left guard. He can play right guard, whatever you need. But if you can, just keep him at right guard right now. I think you have to. I think the 49ers, have legitimately squeezed the most out of Jake Brendel that they could get. And I mean, considering the fact that he was a backup who earned the starting spot, then earned a contract, I mean, that's pretty solid. All things considered, I believe he was an undrafted free agent out of UCLA. And to being able to like, it took a long time for him, but to earn the spot and become a Pro Bowl alternate um, at one point was pretty solid. But he did have a regression last year, and um, he's not young either. He's like, I think he's 32, 33. So 49ers need to upgrade at center. They need to upgrade at left guard. Um, they need to start looking towards the tackles of the future. So we'll see how they potentially address that in the draft. It would make the most sense for me, for their perspective, to try to draft those players. That way they're cost controlled. And they can either be depth or what have you, but they can develop on their own terms. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there, but it does sound like it is the end of the road for Aaron Banks, which is all good. So I want to come back to this. You have Deommodore Lenoir back to tweeting at Myles Garrett. This was after what was it? Max Crosby signed his contract extension. Does Myles Garrett make sense for the San Francisco 49ers? All things considered, we're looking at all the changes that are going on right now with the San Francisco 49ers. It feels like there's a lot of changes coming. And does it make sense to go and trade for a 29-year-old pass rusher? If are they gonna have a big team to field? I don't know. I'm starting to be less optimistic about the 49ers making like a big splash for a trade. If they make like a big splash for draft picks, if they do something like that, I think that makes a little bit more sense. Maybe. So we'll see. We'll see what ultimately comes of that. But I am curious. I am curious to see how that occurs. And if the 49ers do find themselves indeed in the mix for that type of player. So we'll find out. We'll see. I'm trying to look at some other names. I don't know. I don't know if anyone would else really become available. Would the Jets trade Will McDonald? Probably not. He had 11 sacks last year, 38 quarterback hurries. So I don't know if the 49ers are still going to be big time buyers in the trade market. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes because I already I already said on this stream that I think Dre Greenlaw is leaving. So I don't need to give you any Morse code. And I tweeted about it like a month ago. That I think he's leaving, and yeah, he's. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think Dre Greenlaw thinks he's coming back. I think Dre is, people might think it's the 49ers. I think it's more so Dre determining where he wants to go. But I'm curious. I'll open it up to you guys and get your thoughts on the Brock Purdy situation. I know we talked about it at length yesterday. And I know I've been kind of a Debbie Downer about that contract negotiation being a more difficult one than anyone believed it would be. Are you guys kind of seeing how this Brock Purdy negotiation can be, I think, a little bit more challenging than maybe most people had anticipated? Adam Schefter, he's saying some things right now. And, Adam Schefter's talking about this negotiation like he's in the room. That's what he's talking. That's the interesting part about it, is it sounds like how Shefty is describing it is like he's in the conversation with the 49ers. Like it sounds like everything that he's saying. I'm like, Shefty, are you in the room? because what was it? It was Jason Lockenfora came out yesterday and said that the starting offer for Brock Purdy is 45 per year. And obviously it's coming from Jason Lockenfora. He is not necessarily a credible source, even though he was a former NFL insider. He was kind of like, I think he was like Rappaport before Rappaport for NFL Network, I think. He was considered to be an insider at one point, but then he just kind of flamed out. I don't think he was necessarily very good at his job, and I don't even think he's in football anymore. But he came out last night after we had done our live, and he said the 49ers starting offer is $45 million per year. Well, that's funny because that was after Schefter throughout the 50 number on Pat McAfee that morning. And so I do believe like this might be a bit of an indication of where the 49ers might be. Now there's been no indication of what the Brock and his representation's initial ask are for. I would have to imagine it would be in the range of 55 plus. But I do believe that there is I do believe the 49ers are starting lower than maybe some would anticipate. And I remember when Kirk Cousins signed his deal with the Atlanta Falcons coming off a ruptured Achilles. he signed a 4-year contract that was worth $180 million with an average salary of 45 per year, with a total guarantee of 100 million. I remember that when that contract happened last offseason, because we all in the back of our mind knew that Brock Purdy was heading towards a contract year. So those things were like standing out to us. We were paying attention to them. And I remember going on 95.7, like right after that broke. And I'm like, I think this is the floor of a Brock Purdy deal. And it actually sounds like it is. It sounds like most likely that Kirk Cousins deal, whether in the form of a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal, is basically the starting point of this negotiation. And if it is indeed that doesn't mean that's where it's going to finish. So when you think of it like that, maybe that 50 number that Schefter's throwing out, maybe that 3-year 150, maybe the logic of you're getting $5 million this year. We hit you with the franchise tag and the franchise tag after that. You add that up, that's $97 million. We're offering you $150 million. So we're offering you more money than what we could do with you. It all, like I said, it all sounds like Adam Schefter's in the building. I'm like, Shefty, that is fascinating logic that you have developed there. It's like, how did you hit that so well on the head? But nonetheless, I do believe that might be the angle. I would have to assume, if I'm just thinking out loud, if I'm Brock Purdy and his reps, I wouldn't want any less than Tua's deal. Tua got $53 million. Obviously Brock has been substantially better than Tua, but I don't know. I think it's just a bad time for Brock. But honestly, so this is what makes the conversation so challenging about the market, is because the market is so insane. And we've talked about this. The market's insane. Trent Baalke contributed to that. Jerry Jones, ridiculous, paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year. Just absolutely destroyed the quarterback market for everyone else. Trevor Lawrence getting 55. Who else? What did Jordan Love get? Did Jordan Love get 55? I think in that range. Like, that's insane. Like, really, Jordan Love gets 55. So it's like these quarterbacks that Brock has a better resume of are going to have better contracts than he has, even though he's done more in a shorter amount of time. So that's the challenge. That's the challenge. Not that, like, we all don't agree that, yeah, paying our quarterback maybe $50 million opposed to 58 is better for the overall team in regards to adding players, long-term health, all of those things. I don't think anyone would push back on that. I think the question becomes, it's like, well, are we trying to reverse engineer the market now? Are the 49ers the team that are going to be pushing back and saying, you know what, the market is out of control and we're not playing by those terms? Which, I don't know. How do you determine that? And it's hard to fault, his agent, because I think what people don't understand is that if Brock Purdy were to take substantially less than market value, it would be a league-wide issue. It wouldn't just be like, oh, Brock did us a favor. He took way less than he was worth per the market standards. The NFLPA would come banging down their door and be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? The NFLPA has one concern and one concern only, making sure their players are paid, they're taken care of, and they're getting market value. If Brock Purdy went for significantly less under market value, it would hurt the market. It would shift the market for the quarterbacks behind him, and that in there lies the big issue that no one really thinks about. We can think about it in the micro, and we can talk about, yes, this makes sense for the 49ers. This makes sense for us and building and long term and all of that stuff, but that's not how it works. That's not representative of all the factors that need to be taken into play. That's why the market is the market. That's why they do it like they do it. And it creates a vortex of different issues. And so it's finding that sweet spot. And what is that sweet spot? Because I looked it up earlier today because I'm just fascinated by all of this. Just fascinated by all of this. The year that Brock Purdy came into the league, which was 2022, that happened to be the year that Patrick Mahomes signed his mega deal, the 10-year deal. I'm throwing that deal out. Like, that deal is insane, a 10-year deal. So I'm not even going to use that as a measuring stick because I don't believe you can. But the crazy part about it is that in 2020 year, the 2022 year, which was the year that Brock Purdy was drafted in the 7th round, Aaron Rodgers at that time, he signed a 3-year, $150 million contract extension in March of 2022, which at the time included a record-breaking $50 million in average annual salary. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? Just how much the market has exploded in the year that Brock Purdy was drafted in 2022. Aaron Rodgers has a record-breaking $50 million APY. And here we are in 2025 talking about 3 years, $150 million as an underpay for Brock Purdy. So it's just so interesting. It's so interesting how the market works. Because in all of this time, like, I didn't get into this to cover contract negotiations. Trust me. I didn't start talking about the San Francisco 49ers and wanting to cover the 49ers to have to go through contract negotiation stuff every year, every offseason. But unfortunately, that's what's presented to us. This is what the 49ers go through every single year. And if I want to be good at being able to analyze and break this down, I have to understand it. And I try my best to understand it to the best of my ability. I have been privileged enough to have some amazing, contacts behind the scenes that can bring me up to speed on all of this, not only on how contracts work, but how contracts are going in real time. So I feel I have a pretty solid understanding of it as best I can from where I sit. So to me, the fascinating thing with the Brock Purdy contract is how close to 50 are they going to get? To me, it feels like the target is a low 50s number. That is what is kind of becoming apparent. So do the 49ers, does Brock and his team acquiesce? Do they meet the 49ers at 50? Do the 49ers come up around 50 to 53? I think is the sweet spot, 50 to 53. Now, obviously, you can make the case that Brock is worth more based on his resume, but he's not an unrestricted free agent. And if he was an unrestricted free agent, then I think that's what changes the dynamic up beyond 55, but he's not. He's under contract and the 49ers have leverage, and that knocks him back down, I think, into the lower bracket of 50 to 55. So, what I think the 49ers and Brock need to work through is what's the number we land on? Because sub 50 isn't going to work. I don't think it will. And beyond 55 is starting to feel like that's not going to work either. So, what number between 50 and 55 can we land on? 50 being the floor, 50 being the ceiling, maybe somewhere in the middle. Can we land somewhere in the middle? And I think from a 49ers fan's perspective, if we're not paying Brock Purdy 60 million and we get him for 53, 52, we're going to be like, hey, not bad. Not bad. We got a little bit of a value, right? That's how 49er fans would interpret it. They go, oh, we got a little bit of a value. 52, 52 and a half, 3 years, 110 million guaranteed. Oh, not bad. We can work with this. We didn't reset the market. He's being paid less than bang, 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 bang. These guys still top 10 contract, but not top 5. 49er fans, I think, would be able to rationalize that, and also too, when you think about it, it's like, I think you could satisfy the NFLPA enough that they wouldn't kill him for that, wouldn't kill his agent for that. And if we're being honest, like that's where it's crazy how we talk about like this generational money as like, oh, he's underpaid. And I'm not even talking about it from a normal person standpoint. I'm more talking about it from a quarterback standpoint. Like if he's getting paid in the 50s, like Brock is still winning. If that makes sense. Like, so I don't know, dude. It's there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors that play into this. There's a lot of, you got to find that sweet spot. Where's the sweet spot? If the 49ers are starting at 45, I assume Brock and his people are starting above 55. How do we find that sweet spot? Where's the sweet spot? And it might be low 50s. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Let's ask the chat. Let's ask the chat. The 49ers will be making a lot of changes this offseason. As a fan base, can we make one change and stop saying bang, bang, Niner gang? I will turn this question to the chat. Let me phrase the question for you guys. Should the 49ers find a new catchphrase? Yes or no? Yes or no? Which one? Move away from bang bang Niner gang or stick with it? Hey, E40 E40's Unk, man. That's Unk right there. That's my guy. I love E40, man. Grew up on E40. Legend. For sure. I think it's not that people don't like it. I think it's maybe some people don't like it. I think people are like fatigued by it. I don't know. I'm actually surprised by the amount of people that said yes to move off of it. I'm not gonna lie. I thought more would be in favor of the Bang Bang Niner gang. Oh, but hey, credit to E40, man. E4O, Bang Bang Niner gang. Hey, I will say this though. I'll say this when that song drops, when you're in a crowd of 49er fans, it's pretty vibey. It's pretty vibey for sure. So I will say that. I'm indifferent. I'm sure you guys have realized that I don't think I ever say that. Yeah, I don't think I ever say that. Now that I like really think about it. But I'm indifferent. I'm indifferent on it. If you want to say it, go for it. If you don't, he said just something about a grown man walking around the concourse yelling. It just doesn't sit right with me. Damn. Oh, that was funny. See, that made me laugh. And Papa says, "Bang bang Niner gang, like and subscribe." There you go. There you go. I didn't know it was such a divisive topic. But hey, shouldn't be surprised these days. So we'll see. What happens first? Do the 49ers pay Brock Purdy or do they retire Bang Bang Niner gang? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Would I give Seattle a 26th third and a fourth for DK? I would. I would for sure, but I don't think they would. Oh, if we want to talk about terrible team slogans, the Rams have the worst one. And to me, it's without question to the point where like it is so unbelievably cringeworthy that when you're sitting in SoFi Stadium and it is blanketed red and they have the PA announcer come on and they go, "Whose house?" and they pump in crowd noise, you're like, that's not only is it so cringe, it's so embarrassing because clearly your house is completely taken over by 49er fans. Like it's not objectively question, like you just look with your eyeballs and it's all red. And the guy come, "Whose house?" And you hear just this thundering Rams house back, and you're looking around and you're like, all the Rams fan that I'm sitting next to didn't even say anything. Who said that? And who said it so loud? Because it's none of the fans that I'm sitting next to. All the fans I'm sitting next to are 49er fans. So who said that? Literally pumping in crowd. It's so embarrassing. It's like secondhand embarrassment. Honestly. Whose house? Just like, dude, it's all Niner fans in here. And you're going to talk about whose house? And then the crowd noise on top pumped in. It's just like, oh, hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to do what you got to do. Oh, man. But we got to get our get back on the Rams this year. I didn't like that part of last year, especially them taking away our chance at the playoffs. We need to. I feel like regardless, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen this year. I'll start talking a little bit, but pretty much everyone that I've talked to, you know, I did that interview with Tariq Owens. I posted that to the channel. He was like, dude, this season was such an outlier. You know, I asked him about like the vibe in the locker room and all of that. And he's just like, man, you know, you look at the games that we lost in the division, you look at the Rams, you look at the Seahawks, and you look at the Cardinals game. We had those games in the fourth quarter. You know, we were the better team until we weren't. It's like in the locker room, our perception of what was going on was so much different than the fan base. Because, you know, obviously they're living and breathing it with every second. And the way those games go, they interpret them much differently than fans do. And he's just like, yeah, like we never for a second, you know, thought that we weren't a playoff team. And, you know, it ultimately didn't happen. But I think they're absolutely like mentally, when you talk about like who they believe they are, they still believe they are the 40. Like they still believe they're that perennial, you know, playoff team. So as long as they get some pieces right, they make some key moves in the offseason, they make some signings, whatever, they get things done. Rebuild that defensive line, start there, retool that offensive line, start there. You know, then let's talk. Then let's see. But you know, I don't want to be too cocky or anything and you know, wave my 49ers flag and be like, we're Super Bowl champs, we're back, we're going to be back. There's a lot of moves that need to be made. There's a lot of things that need to be done before we can have that conversation. The schedule's in our favor. They're playing the Super Bowl at home. We think we have a quarterback. I don't know. I think we do. I think we will. And if we can plug some holes, I think we'll be right back. We kill this draft. We need, like, I would say 2 to 4 like plug and play impact free agents. Like we need 2 to 4 players that are absolutely going to not only play significant snaps, but actually elevate the group. Like we need 2 to 4 free agents that are going to make a difference. And then we backfill with rotational depth pieces who just can play a role, can be role players within that scheme, and then draft well. Get potentially, same thing with the draft, 2 to 4 impact drafted players. You know, that's anywhere from 4 to 8 impact players that you can add to this offseason, and then boom, all of a sudden you're we're cooking, right? We're back in that spot. We're back in a place where as long as we have a quarterback, the 49ers can win football games. So we'll see how it goes. I heard Mayoko talking about that earlier today, of them being potential cap casualties. But I would have to assume maybe the 49ers. I don't know, because would that have happened by now? I could see Floyd being a trade piece. I think that's what you would want to do with that. I think if I didn't love the Floyd signing when they made it. It felt like a Band-Aid move. And again, he was older, and it just didn't feel like I don't know. But if they could potentially trade Floyd, I would keep Etor because he just dealt with injury last year, but I think he can be beneficial as an interior out pass rusher. If you could get Floyd for a 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, dude, that's a win to me. Floyd had 8 sacks last season. While I don't disagree that 8 sacks isn't, helpful, he's not getting any younger, and he's going to be going into the last year of his deal. He might still have some value, and clearly you're not paying him after that. So, and you need to fix this defensive line. He's not going to be a part of your long-term future, and the 49ers clearly aren't like super win now focused. I still think they are going to try to win now, but I think they're doing it differently. They're going to be doing it with younger players. They're going to be doing it with guys that can also contribute in 26 and 27. So with Floyd, he's out the door next year after this season. So why not get ahead of it? Take the 8 sacks that he was able to produce, use that in his value, and maybe try to get something for him. That's kind of like what I was talking about, like with hopefully going after like a Max Crosby or something. Is like, all right, well, we'll give you a defensive end back who had 8 sacks, like, on top of the draft capital that we send over. So, like, if the 49ers are in the business of going after Myles Garrett and trading for him, we'll give you Leonard Floyd and the draft picks that it requires to get him. But you at least get that player for that position that you're trading away, and then go from there. Thoughts on trading Bosa? I would say it's not a thought. But, maybe when he gets further into this deal, they start to have that thought or conversation. But I don't think we're at that point yet of trading him. He's still one of the top edge rushers in this league, and right now he's like the only like true like elite defensive lineman that we have. And so I don't know if I would want to do that. I would definitely, at least not right now. Maybe later on down the road you can have that conversation. Um, but kind of like what Invader says, you kind of got to build around him. You have to use him as the anchor of that unit, and you have to build a strong supporting cast. That's why I was so crazy hot and heavy about Brian Burns, is because you need to put someone on the opposite side of Bosa, and not just someone who can match his skill set or complement his skill set. And Leonard Floyd was like the bargain version of that. I'm looking high end there. I know it costs, and I know it's easier said than done, but that's kind of where I would look I've been on that. Like, they need some they I've seen how this wide nine defense operates, and they are at their best when they've got two stud pass rushers. When they got two stud pass rushers and they collapse the pocket from the outside, and then you get the interior pressure, that's where you can get away with rushing four. That's where you can get away with rushing four, dropping coverage, and just overwhelming offensive lines, because they're either sliding protection to Bosa, they're sliding protection to the other defensive end. You're getting one-on-one matchups on the interior, and you're getting those one-on-one matchups in the passing lanes, and you're pushing the pocket from the interior while collapsing it from the outside. And they just haven't done that ultra effectively. They had to trade for Chase Young. They had to trade for Randy Gregory. But signed Leonard Floyd. They have been trying to replace D Ford for years, and they have not been able to do that. And I think because they haven't been able to do that, the whole unit has kind of suffered in that regard, and they haven't been able to get back to what they once were, at their peak, when it was rookie Nick Bosa and DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead and D Ford. So they, my what I would do is, like, I would try to figure out, how do I get a high end edge rusher to put on the opposite side of Nick Bosa, and go draft some defensive tackles. There are plenty of defensive tackles um, in this class that could definitely present an impact. I mean, look at Evan Anderson. Evan Anderson was a rookie, and he played pretty decently well as an undrafted free agent. I guarantee you can find a second or third round defensive tackle that could absolutely present an impact on the interior. So will that happen? I don't know. We're gonna have to find out. We're gonna have to find out. That's funny. Nightcap just reached out to me. Club Shay Shay. The Nightcap show just reached out, asked if they could share the Deommodore Lenoir video. Yeah, go for it. So sounds like, spoiler alert, Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco will be reacting to Deommodore Lenoir's IG live tonight. Oh boy. Frisco says, did paying Bosa cripple the Niners D line? No. I would say that trading DeForest Buckner was the first domino. The second domino was D Ford having to medically retire. And third domino was moving on from Eric Armstead. So the first domino fell with Defoe, trading him. Now they were able to overcome it slightly. Charles Omenihu played a solid role at one point. They had some guys to fill in, but it's been patchwork. It's been patchwork for a while, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think it was necessarily Bosa. I mean, you look across the league, there are plenty of teams that have paid out big time edges and still been able to have a competitive roster. Omenihu is a free agent, but you have to remember he's coming off injury. I don't know. I don't know if he would come back or if the 49ers would be interested with the additional wear and tear plus some of the injury concerns that have piled up. So we'll see. But I appreciate all you guys. I'm going to get out of here for now. This has ended up being a later one than I anticipated. But I appreciate you all. Hendrick says, "Are the Niners done with Drake Jackson?" I just think Drake Jackson, I don't know. He's got a really unfortunate knee injury. So I just don't know. I just don't think they can rely on him. So we'll have to see. But we'll be back tomorrow. We got mock. So just so you know, mock draft 3.0 is in the works. So I'm hoping to drop that soon. Just one more like to 100. You better smash that like button. Smash that like button if you want mock draft 3.0 to drop. This one's kind of juicy. I like this one. This one, obviously, the big element of my last mock draft was the trade of Deebo Samuel involved to get Max Crosby. So I'm not doing trades in this one, but I like the way this one kind of shaked out. So we'll see if you guys like it. And then when I drop mock draft 3.0, we'll also do a live mock as well. So appreciate you all. Grab your cookies on the way out. Plenty of stuff going on in 49ers land. Appreciate you all. And we will be back tomorrow. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.